tonight's format. It's going to be similar for those of you that were here last week. How many of you were here last week? Okay, so most of you were. So what we're going to do tonight, and I'm going to spell this out so everybody understands. The candidates will have a 3-minute introduction. They will also have a 3-minute closing, and they will have a 3-minute float time. Now, if they want, they can extend their introduction as long as they want, but it will come off their float time. And the same goes for their closing statement. Now, each candidate will ask each other 3 questions. They'll have a minute to ask the question, 30 seconds to ask the question, 1 minute to answer the question, and there'll be time for a 1-minute rebuttal. Now, the float time will be added or subtracted depending on how much of that time they use. Their questions will be alternated, like I did last week, with my 6 questions, if time permits. We're going to watch the clock and try to get this over within 15 minutes or less. That takes care of that. And then we have a yellow lid that says you have 10 seconds in your allotted time. And we have a red lid that says your allotted time is up. Now, if you wish to go on, you can, as long as you have float time. And I think after every 4 questions, we will stop and we'll let you know your float time is. Microphones. You folks know how to use the microphone. We have a power switch on the top and a mute on the bottom. And when you're done speaking, turn it back on mute. Got that? Okay. Now we're going to do a coin toss to see who is going to stay in the church and who's going to go to the fellowship hall. Only problem with that is I hate carrying change around. So does somebody have a quarter? There you go. You got a real coin? Oh, great. I like this one. Boy Scouts. Great. Okay. Tail. Okay. So this is for who stays in the church. Okay, Bill, or, well, I'll let Sheri call this. Heads? It's tails. So it looks like Bill is in the church. So, Sheri, we're going to have Jan. And then if you get out of hand, Todd. We're going to escort you through this door when we're done, and everybody's going to stay seated until they have left the building, and then everybody can go to those 2 areas to talk to folks. And don't forget Dolores Lucero. Okay, now we're going to flip to see who starts on the introduction, and whoever loses will start the closing first. Okay, so let Bill call this time. Heads. And it's tails. I don't know. So Sheri will go first with the introduction. Thanks. Use a one-sided coin, huh? Oh, hang on. One more chore here. I got to give my timer the watch. This watch has been many places. Is that good or bad? Okay, so we will begin.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming, especially to the veterans. I've been a resident of Shasta County for 36 years. My husband and I had a full-service steakhouse that we owned and operated before we came up here, making me experienced in payroll, marketing, P&L, supervision of employees, and customer service training. I've also served over 28 years in public service. I worked for 4 senators and 1 assemblyman as an administrator, doing casework, training field reps, doing speeches, events, and many meetings, and helping with legislation. I've also served on the Shasta College Board of Trustees for 8 years. We set policy, dealt with unions, helped pass bond measures, which resulted in many buildings around town, as well as a new campus in Red Bluff. And if you have visited the Health Science Building, that was one of the first buildings that we built. I've dealt with many contracts and worked with the Brown Act issues on that particular board. I'm a graduate of Shasta College and Simpson University. My GPA was 4.11. I was the baccalaureate speaker and the first president of their honor society. I would like to continue my public service by serving the people of this county to the best of my ability. My platform is public safety is number one. I want to eliminate the catch and release situation that exists in our counties. I want to work on job creation with legislators to eliminate onerous business regulations and work with the EDC on promoting business retention and new businesses. I want to preserve our water rights. The area of origin is particularly critical at this particular area, since the legislature and the governor want to have 2 tubes to take our water down to Southern California. And also the governor has set his priority as high-speed rail, which has impacted our veterans' homes. I want to promote tourism on the Facebook, Twitter, email, conversations, pictures, work with the convention and visitors, tourism bureaus, and chambers of commerce. I want to help resolve veterans issues. I have many military people in my family, going clear back to my great-great-grandfather, who played a drum in the Civil War for the Union side, and my brother still has the drum. My husband, my brother, my brother-in-law, my son-in-law, my grandson have all been in the military, and currently I have 2 nephews, one in Iraq with the Marines and the other in Afghanistan with the National Guard from this area. I want to see the Veterans Home open soon. I will work with the Veteran Service Officer, Bob Dunlap, on homelessness issues. I will help with support groups for families who have loved ones overseas. I'm a member of the American Legion Auxiliary number 197, Howard Jarvis Association, Reading Chamber of Commerce, the Danbury Reagan's Young America Foundation, and Cross Point Community Church. I'm married to Pastor Joe Beck and have 3 grown daughters, son-in-laws, and 7 grandchildren. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Schappell. As hopefully everybody knows, we're running for District Supervisor in District 4. Me and Sheri Beck, we run pretty well parallel on our issues. I think the major difference here is that Sheri Beck was secretary for 25 years in the legislation arena. Myself, I was 25 years in the private business sector. Well, they made the rules. I ran under those oppressive rules. I know what it's like to try and run a business with trying to deal with different government entities. On Shasta Lake, I dealt with 32 different government entities. And a lot of the times it was just busy work. Sometimes you had to hire extra staff just to get the reports done on time and everything. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys want to come here tonight after this meeting, I'll tell you the different reports that I've had, and I try to trick them a little bit to see if they would actually even read them, and a lot of them aren't even read. So it's just extra work where actually a small business person could spend his time and not have to hire that, be a little more profitable, and count, or let's see, we can go work on making a bottom line, work on getting the profit coming in. I want to thank you all for coming here tonight, and I hope you enjoy the debate.
Okay. Trying to see who's going to go first with the question. So I don't think it matters at this point because each have 3 questions. So I think we'll go first with Ms. Beck to ask the first question of Mr. Shappell.
Mr. Shappell, how would you improve public safety in our community in light of the prison realignment program?
Not in the what?
Prison realignment program.
Controlling? What's that? Controlling?
How would you improve public safety in our community?
In regards to prison life.
Right.
I don't know. I guess all of you guys are probably aware about the prison alignment program, where the state is basically trying to dump their budget and save themselves money and put the pressure on all the counties. And actually it's putting the counties in overload. The reason why the state did it, they were in overload. So now they're going to give it to the counties, and the counties now got to try and deal with almost an impossible situation. I think that what we have here is everybody's concerned with public safety. And I think what's happening is that we have had Our jails have been pretty full, and then we've had what they call the, just they go in and come right back out again, and there's not a lot of things happening. And a lot of the people know about that. I think that what we can do is if we do a cooperative effort, we work on those avenues from time to time, and actually there is some budget sharing between the cities. And I think if the counties could share the responsibility of placing these criminals that have to be in jail and possibly build a jail together instead of all being imposed on one county to try and do it and then another county try and do it. Maybe find a central location that they could do something like that, and then they could support it. They could build a better facility, and it would be to the betterment of all. Thank you.
Okay, now my question. And what we're going to do here... Oh, I'm sorry. Jumped the gun.
If you want one, yeah.
Thank you. We do have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
You have a minute.
Oh, I have a minute?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
30 seconds is only for the question.
All right, thank you. We do have progress being made in our county, not as fast as we would like. The money has been provided, but we don't know whether we're going to have it for 2 or 3 years, even though they promised us that much. The sheriff has finished opening the 3rd floor. He has contracted with other counties to place felons in those particular counties. We need to stop this catch and release situation. I did support a jail, but we don't have the money right now. I think eventually we will have a jail, but you know what it's going to take? We need to remember our civic lessons. When we have people working, they pay taxes. They have jobs. There's a ripple effect. Businesses pay taxes. Taxes support our government. I'm not for higher taxes or more taxes. I am for jobs to get people to work. Thank you.
No respond, Bill? You're done? You don't have to. Okay. Okay, I want to move on to my question. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask the question, and you'll each have a minute to answer the question. And if you want to continue on to a discussion, it will come off your float time. Okay, so my question is, and we'll start with Mr. Schappell first. What grade would you give the current Board of Supervisors in regard to representing the people of Shasta County, and why?
The rating I would give the current Board of Supervisors? I would probably give them 50%. They've come off with the Churn Creek Bottom project, and they voted it into 5-0. And that particular project, was voted out by you people by almost 70% were opposed to it. So what that tells me, and it should really tell you, that the current Board of Supervisors is out of touch with the people's wishes. I believe they went through there, they thought they were going to ramrod it through, and it was just going to be a project that was going to bring taxes into the county without taking any consideration of what it was going to do to the city of Reading, all the other small businesses around, traffic. The lawsuit with Caltrans is scheduled the very 1st of October at 10. Also, what they did, they get credit for. I know Ms. Beck was doing the jail, wanted to have the jail the same day, but they voted the jail down 5-0. So that was a good thing, because the problem is, and me and Tom Basenko were on the same vein with that. Jail is nice to have, it's great to have, but how do we support it? The $6.2 million annual cost right now, we don't have it. And there's another scenario with that jail. Everybody says the $36 million. Think about it. If they give us $10 million and say there's no more money, you build it. Who's going to control it? The state's going to control it. What's it going to be? It's going to be a state penitentiary in downtown Reading. So there's a lot more problems underlying with that jail. Thank you.
Thank you very much for asking the question. I've been to many of the Board of Supervisors meetings. Some of them are very lengthy. Some of them are maybe 2 or 3 hours. One of them was 5 hours when we had the review of the fires. And I thought they did a very good job in putting the feet to the fire, so to speak, of the National Park Service and the U.S. Forest Service because they made poor choices. They exercised poor judgment and allowed these fires to escape and not only destroy public lands, they destroyed private lands as well. In fact, I was told by one expert that some of the fire was so hot in those areas that it literally sterilized the soil. So how are you going to regrow something? It'll be years before that comes back. They've also handled water issues, and they've also and they have someone, Leonard Modi, I believe, is the person who represents us, that will put together a water consortium to protect our water. They've dealt with the realignment issues. Some of these are very critical, complicated issues. And I say that I would give them a B+ for sticking in there, having the guts to confront some of these people, and also taking a stand to protect and try to make a better life for the people in our community. Thank you.
So let me get that straight. Bill, 50% in my book is an F, and Sheri a B+. Is that fair to say? Okay. Okay, thank you. So now, I'm mixing up your names here. So I'm just going to say Mr. and Mrs. Mr. Shappell, your question number 1 for Ms. Beck.
I got 30 seconds. I'm going to be eating it all up right away, aren't I? Okay, so we have the Hawkins Development Project, the Turn Creek Bottom project that you actually were for. And it was actually rejected by 70% of the voters. And this morning on KCNR, you'd actually described that you would still be for that project. I was just wondering if it was the wishes of the voters to not have it, what would be your reasoning to try to vote on some other type of project that would go in that same area? Possibly something the same or a little different. What would be your reasoning for why you would do that?
I don't believe I said I still supported the project. That's water under the bridge. What I am supporting is jobs. I would like to see us have some clean jobs come into our county. Manufacturing, according to Mark Lascelles, is going to pay 5 times the income to a person who's employed in manufacturing than, say, in retail. He has taken a different strategy on promoting this in our county. And I think it's making people wake up and say, hey, we've got to get out there and get some manufacturing here in our county. We have Stillwater Park, which has not been developed yet, but it certainly is a good place for manufacturing to go. I think the message that the people gave, they voted on it. That's the will of the people. I think the bigger picture is, though, that when investors try to come to our county now and they look and see what happened to that project, they'll say, I don't think we want to go there because the people don't want us. We don't want that attitude. We want to have a good attitude saying, you're welcome, come help us get jobs for our people. Thank you.
Yeah, Glenda Hawes, the current supervisor, has the same position. And I think jobs has a really good merit. The problem is I see as a business person, one, you do have a lawsuit with Caltrans, and it's current. And it's not only suing Hawkins Development, it's suing the Board of Supervisors and you, the Shasta County citizens. In addition to that, I would have to see where that business was coming from. It was described to me it was all going to come off of I-5. I cannot believe that people with this economy based in the way it is and the price of gas are going to stop at I-5, have dinner, go shopping, look at a movie, spend the night, and take off on their trip again. I-5 is not a back road, it's a major artery. I felt that would take away from the Reading businesses and we wouldn't actually produce a positive direction in any manner. We'd actually be hurting the Reading tax base to increase the county tax base. Thank you.
Okay, now my question number 2. And I believe Ms. Beck will go first. Shasta County is currently a member of the Northern Sacramento Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Planning Group. Wow. Yeah. How they come up with this stuff. This group is developing an integrated regional water management plan. Do you think Shasta County should be involved in this group, and why? 1 minute answer.
If we don't participate, we cannot stand alone. We need regional support to help us keep our water rights up here. And I believe that the program that they're planning, it's not law. They're not promoting any laws. What they're doing is working together to help us save our water up here. And yes, I do support the Reading participates in this, as well as the county and several other counties. And I think we need a consortium like this. When I worked for Senator Jim Nielsen, he had a water rights, a water rights group that met once a quarter. And there were 100 people in there up and down his district. And we were able to discuss different water issues and also promote some legislation that promoted water and provided for preservation of our water up here. So yes, I do support this. Thank you.
Again, coming from the private sector and looking at what that integrated regional water management plan can do for our county, I would be opposed to it. And I would be strongly opposed to it. And if I couldn't get strictly the whole thing taken out, I would at least try to take it apart piece by piece. One of the things you guys need to understand is that's just a big precursor to climate action plan, okay? The state right now has surface water control. Now they're going to look for your groundwater control, okay? And they're going to put meters on your wells, and it starts off with 20% reduction right off the bat. That's the starting figure, okay? They're going to control all the groundwater. This is the precursor to that. Greenhouse gas inventory is the foundation to cap and trade. Cap and trade is just another tax, and it's going to hurt all our businesses. We are going to tax industries on something that we breathe, okay? The Board of Supervisors needs to produce a proclamation, send it to the state that they're strongly against any of these water regulations. We need to stand up and fight for it, not as just the Board of Supervisors, but as the people in this area. Then we need to cooperate with other counties and put a collective body together that we can actually put some pressure on Sacramento. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll do the float time that each have.
Sorry about that. Sheri, you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and Bill, you have 4 minutes.
Okay, now we move on to Mrs. Beck, question number 2.
Bill, you've talked a lot about business. How would you promote and protect business rights?
Just the business rights, all of them? Not
How
any
would you
particular
promote business and protect business rights?
Well, I don't know about promoting it, but I know protecting business rights. You know, we have in Shasta County with our planning department and our resources department, I don't know how many of you people have actually been able to deal with them out here in this audience, but I know that they are not very friendly to deal with, and I know that it takes a long time, and we should have an open door. I think if we're going to protect businesses, just to start off with, if somebody wants to start up business, they ought to have a red carpet like this laid out, and they ought to have everything laid out to where they can, what all the little avenues they got to take and the forms they got to fill out, and help them as a public servant, okay? I think that the business rights to come down through the different legislation through the state, and anything that we find that's going to be taken away from us, that takes away the business, that actually dilutes the business. You can see what's happening in Reading. We have a lot of businesses going out because of the economy. We need to try and make that base stronger. And I think that anything that comes through the state for laws that are going to impede and impose regulations on them they can't deal with, we've got to fight back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a fight right now for survival, and everybody needs to understand that. We have to start fighting if we want to continue to live in this United States of America like we're living currently. Thank you.
I think Bill and I agree very much on a lot of this particular issue. We need to streamline the use permit process. We need to work with our legislators, and I've had 28 years working with them. I have a good relationship. I know how they operate. I know how to negotiate. I know how to lobby them. We need to work with our EDC, our Economic Development Corporation, in promoting businesses. And we need to work on a change of attitude in departments that issue these permits. And I think Bill touched on that. We have a problem down there. Well, I would like to see a person who would like to start a business or retain a business come in and have the attitude of not, and this is the way it seems to be operating now, well, we looked at that, you can't do that. No, that's not the attitude we need. We want to see them come in and say, well, here are the federal laws, here are the state laws, here are the local ordinances. Let's see what we can do to help you with your project succeed.
Okay, now my third question. And Mr. Shappell will go first. This is a 1-minute answer. If elected to represent District 4, what committees would you like to be on and why?
Committees. Okay. I haven't given that a lot of thought. I think for me, myself with my background and everything, I would actually want to be on committees that I would feel that I my expertise and that I could actually do some help with. Being in the private business sector, I think possibly the Economic Development Corporation committee would be one of them. And I think possibly regional transportation would be another one because it is a business type of an entity. Sacramento River Conservation is probably another one because we have to protect the riparian rights and all the different things, ecosystem that operates on the Sacramento River. I do have a little experience in mental health and drug and alcohol abuse. That would probably be another one. And for that would be my list currently right now until I could actually study what I'd actually would want to get onto. And again, like I said, with my experience and what something would interest me where I'd be going. Thank you.
Thank you. There are a number of committees down there. I would like to see how active they are and just exactly what type of issues that they are dealing with. I too have worked in mental health issues. I worked for the Department of Mental Health at one time in the Public Affairs Office. I would like to work with water issues because of my past experience in working with Senator Jim Nielsen and the various water issues that came before him at that time. I would like to work on public safety issues because I also gained a lot of experience working with Jim Nielsen, who is very law enforcement minded. I would like to work on economic development. I too have been in business. I've given several different suggestions to Mark LaSalle's already, and he is investigating those and reviewing them. And I would like to work on health issues for children. I think this is very important in our county. Our children are the leaders of our community in the future. Thank you.
Okay, now Mr. Shappell, your question number 2 to Mrs. Beck.
This is in regards to resource management. I was just curious, you know, how many people have had problems with the county department's resource management and planning out here? You guys had any problems with them? Okay, you know. So you're very aware of what's happening. The Board of Supervisors has been unable to resolve these problems, and it's just going on a problem. I'd like to know what you would do to fix these problems besides lowering the fees and streamlining permits, Sheri.
First of all, you have to realize that resource management is not under Larry Lees. He is under the Board of Supervisors, the only department head down there that is. And this was changed years ago. And unfortunately, there's been some friendliness between some of the supervisors and Mr. Mull, who I'm sure you're referring to. This will change, and I think he's seen the handwriting on the wall. He has agreed to retire. I think that will change a lot in that department.
A rebuttal?
Well, just another comment. You know, we've heard the same strategy from so many politicians, and we still have the same problem. I think it's it's someone with extensive private sector experience and working with the system to find appropriate solutions. I've got 25 years in the private sector industry working under these oppressive regulations, and I have some more ideas of how we can possibly improve these conditions. Thank you.
Okay, now my question number 4. Shasta County declared that they are invoking coordination when in fact they are trying to cooperate with the agencies on issues like the travel road management plan, timber and species issues. Do you see any distinction between these two approaches, and which one would you support as supervisor and why? 1 minute for the answer. And Mrs. Beck goes first.
I have a question for the audience. This is like, do you want to be a millionaire? How many of you know what invoke coordination is? Great. Then we know what we're discussing. I have talked to several people regarding this particular issue. We do not have in the county invoking coordination. The city of Reading is considering it. The reason that we don't have it in the county, it has been discussed before, is because it gives kind of an adverse situation when people walk in knowing that they're operating under this particular issue, this particular requirement, instead of cooperation. And I have been told that cooperation has worked very well here in this county. Other counties that have invoked coordination have had lawsuits filed against them, and we don't want that to happen here in Shasta County. Thank you.
There's a strong distinction between cooperation and coordination. Cooperation means they're going to be cooperative with you if they feel like they want to be cooperative with you, and if they don't have to be, okay? Coordination holds them to a federal rules of regulations that they have to coordinate, and they have to make the plan for the betterment of the area. That's a federal law that they have to abide by, okay? So it's important, and especially with what's happening with our country, that this whole country invokes coordination on every entity it can. That's the only way we're going to get this turned around. It's this very strong source, a tool, I should say, that hasn't been used for a long, long time. And the powers to be are scared to death of it, and they don't want to even hear it because they know it's going to be regulatory practices that they're going to have to deal with, and they don't like it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go over the float time.
Mrs. Beck, you have 3 minutes. Bill, you have 4 minutes and 15 seconds.
And now, Mrs. Beck's third question to Mr. Shappell.
Mr. Shappell, what plans do you have for helping our veterans in this county and those that are overseas?
You know, Sheri, as far as the plans and the veterans, what I feel about the veterans, I feel strongly that, one, it's criminal that we're not opening the home for the veterans on the Knighton Road. I feel that the state has drugged their feet. It's a couple $1 million to try and get the thing popped open. They have sacrificed their lives, and this is the way we treat them. It should be criminal. Instead, they talk about high-speed rail that'll go to nowhere, that's going to put our state broke. And they also talk about the 233 diameter pipes that they want to suck water out of the Delta at 62,500 gallons a second. That drains Shasta Lake in 4 months, okay? They need a head check. They need to take care of the people that we need to be responsible for. For myself, as far as trying to get these facilities open, I would have to explore the avenues to do that, and I would do the best that I could to accommodate the veterans because they need it in the manner they need to be treated with respect. Thank you.
I think we both agree that the veterans' homes needs to be open. We need to work with our legislators to be sure that that money is there. And Jim Nielsen is the Assembly Budget Committee Chairman, and he is now running for the Senate, and I'm sure he'll have, again, a leadership position down there, and we can work with him. Also, there was a mention today about monitoring when the ballots are going to be sent out to our veterans. We need to monitor that very closely and make sure that those veterans get their ballots to vote. I would like to work with the families who have loved ones overseas to make sure they have a support group. My daughter worked with this when her husband was in Desert Storm, and she had a health and welfare program going down there in San Diego, and she was in charge of that, and she made sure that the families were taken care of. And I also would like to work with those veterans that have a homeless situation, and I will work with the Veteran Service Officer on that.
Okay, my fifth question. This will be a 30-second answer. This is a quickie. Gary Cadd has been asking the Board of Supervisors for numerous weeks to put the Board of Supervisors meetings online. As an elected Board of Supervisor, will you take the necessary steps to get this done? And Mr. Schappell goes first.
Okay, so what's the purpose of the video? The purpose of the video is to hold the County Board of Supervisors with accountability and some transparency. There would be no reason that they would want that exposed to the public and let them know what they're doing unless they have a reason that they don't really want the public to know what they're doing and they want to operate in stealth. I think all the citizens need to demand a video. They needed to hold the supervisors accountable for what they're doing. I've talked to a lot of people on different issues in this campaign, and it has really come to my knowledge and my surprise that a lot of people in the Shasta County don't realize what the issues are or what's ever happening. They've kind of got the supervisors on automatic pilot in hopes that they're doing a job best for the county. But they don't do that all the time. Sometimes they do that for the betterment of themselves. And it's absolutely operating in stealth is wrong. They need to expose themselves. You people need to demand that they show us what they're doing. If I get elected, it'll be on the radio or a blog, the different issues that concern you people, so you'll know what's happening. Thank you.
I have been to many of those meetings when Gary has addressed the board on this, and my understanding is from Mr. Lees and the board that they are looking into this and getting different proposals to do this. It is also already on television for those who have televisions. My question is, how many people in the county have internet service? Because I do know of some people that there's no way that they get internet service, so that would not help them. But I see no reason why we could not go online if we had the money and it was reasonable enough of a proposal.
Okay, now Mr. Shappell, your final question to Mrs. Beck.
In regards to tourism, you have especially strong support for tourism, and I was just wondering what specifically would you do to increase the support for this industry?
I believe I mentioned in my opening statement that I already have information on Facebook and Twitter on my website. If you want to go to my website, SheriBeck2012.com. We would talk it up. We can support our Convention and Visitors Bureau, our Chamber of Commerce. There are a lot of things that we can do ourselves as an elected official out there where we go to different meetings, meet different people, and talk up our particular county. We have a lot of natural resources here. In spite of the ones that have burned down, we still have a lot of natural resources. And I think we need to really promote that wherever we go, whatever we do. And I think this would certainly benefit our county.
Well, let's see. I used to promote tourism for about 25 years on Shasta Lake, and one of the things that I found that was really kind of appalling to me is that there was absolutely no support in this county for the Shasta Lake and the other avenues that we have for recreation up here. Tourism is a great avenue for revenue. It doesn't impact the area. They come, they drop their money, and they leave. In an extension of just the tourism for Shasta Lake, we could actually have different venues, some running venues, some various venues that bring in a lot of people that are organized venues, that they take off certain areas, and it generates a lot of money, and you'll have 20,000 people showing up, renting hotels and eating dinners and everything. I think those are the avenues we need to take. I think it would be nice, instead of talking about Turntable Bay all the time and the Sundial Bridge, that we could actually have where we would support those businesses. We would develop advertising incentives in either weekly or monthly publications, something like The Date. And then we need to get the county support behind us. We need to get the county to actually recognize we have tourism in this county. Thank you.
Before I go to my final question, let's do an update on the float time.
Mr. Schappell, Mrs. Beck is catching up with you. Sheri, you have 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and Bill, you've got 4 minutes.
So if you want, you can discuss my answer in detail. Here we go. What would you propose regarding tax revenue sharing with the city of Reading? And Mrs. Beck will go first.
This has been brought up recently concerning tax sharing, but should we just limit it to Reading, or should we include Shasta Lake, which is in District 4, or Anderson? The question is, do we have any taxes to share? That has been the problem with both entities. And I think that when we sit down and discuss it, we need to be fair and respectful when we discuss tax sharing issues. And when I say be fair, not have one entity try to lord it over another or take more than their share. This is going to be a difficult issue, but I think it can be done. We've had several instances in the past where just Reading and Shasta County were talking about tax sharing. But that was not successful, unfortunately, but we will have a different Board of Supervisors now. So I am looking forward to having the discussions again, successfully.
I think that would be a fair way for all the concerns to be able to generate money in basically the city and the county. Also, maybe if we brought in Shasta Lake City and Anderson also. I know those cities have talked about revenue sharing between the three of them because they do get monies, grant monies and so forth, and it generally is not enough money to do a project. So if they took all that grant money for 1 year and gave one entity that, they could get a nice project done for that year, and then it goes to the next in the next city in line. And I think maybe possibly that type of logic could be used with the revenue sharing with the county. I know we don't really need to be loggerheads with the county in Reading. We need to actually be cooperative and support what we can. And I believe that the tax sharing revenue base would make everything on a lot more equal playing field. Thank you.
Okay, before we move on to the closing statements, Mr. Shappell will go first. Now you have 3 minutes for the closing statement plus your float time. So I'm going to have Elizabeth give us your float time one more time.
Mr. Shappell, you're going first?
I guess.
You have 4 minutes.
Okay.
So that means 7 minutes.
Means what?
Well, you have 3 minutes for closing plus the 4-minute float. That's 7 minutes.
Well, shoot, order me a pizza, man. I'll tell you, I got that kind of time. In closing, I would like to just say that my opponent has a large list of endorsements, and currently 2 of them are supervisors, and 1 of them is a supervisor by proxy of his brother. That's all part of the current establishment, and I need to find out, does this really represent the real change, or is it going to be more of the same as it comes through? I have endorsements. My only interest really of my endorsements is you, the Shasta County voters. I want to get your endorsement by voting for me. The 4th District needs leadership with many diverse challenges, which include businesses, resorts, recreation, water rights, personal property rights, and many others. Have been an active participant in the 4th District community, and I have a unique understanding of the problems because of my extensive business in the 4th District. I think we need a fresh approach, someone that has extensive private sector experience. I'm not a politician. I'm not involved with all the politics. What I do know, I know business and I know the bottom line, and I do know that we need to operate where we start. We need to know where our budgets are and our bottom line. We need to also operate on how we can make more money with the existing businesses and the existing machine we have out there and get that existing machine working really well. If elected, I'll represent the voters. That's who I'm going to represent. I do not have a large list of endorsements. What I really want, and I want to express this the best way as I can, I want your endorsement. And if I get your endorsement and I'm elected on November the 6th, I know exactly who I got to go to work for. I got to go to work for you, the people, and the voters of Shasta County. Myself, I can't do a lot of changes by myself. That's why my slogan is, together, we make a difference. I will be asking for your support on issues that are necessary to get to that are going to be detrimental to this area. And we will do rallying or whatever we have to do to make sure that everybody understands that we have to operate as a unit. We cannot operate anymore singularly and hope some one person is going to take care of our problems. Because realistically, in the government, one person cannot take care of all the problems. But the backbone of the people, coined with a representative that's going to represent them, I believe we can come to a positive results. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Beck, you have 3 minutes and 45 seconds, so that makes it 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Is that right? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here tonight. I appreciate you coming to a candidates forum. Do you realize how many people don't look into their candidates and they just vote party line, or since this is nonpartisan, they just vote for name, or maybe somebody else told them? I do have 150 endorsements, and it's on my literature back there if you would like to pick it up and take a look at it. Many of these people are business people. My husband and I have been in business. We know what the bottom line is. We know what budgets are. We know how to handle people, do customer service. I've also served 8 years on the Board of Supervisors. I'm thinking ahead. The Board of Community College Trustees. And out there we handled many different issues that will be very similar to what we are handling in the Board of Supervisors. We handled contracts, we handled union negotiations, we handled building projects. We discussed energy issues. I mean, there was a gamut of things over the 8 years that I was there that we handled that are very similar to what we're going to be handling on the Board of Supervisors. We need to work it as a team. We can't sit up here and say, I'm going to do this by myself, because it takes 3 votes on the Board of Supervisors. You've got to have a relationship with the other supervisors. You have to have a relationship with your legislators if you're going to lobby them and have them in your court. And I think that I am the most qualified to do that. And I want to thank you, veterans, again. My husband is here this evening. He's a veteran. As I mentioned before, my great-great-grandfather was a veteran. I have a brother and a brother-in-law and a son-in-law who was a Navy career man, and a grandson and 2 nephews that are in the military. I'm very veteran-minded. I'm very supportive of you, and I will do whatever I can to help you veterans. I want to thank you again tonight for coming. Please look at my website, sheribeck2012.com. You'll see my blogs. You'll see my endorsements. You'll see where I've been and what I'm doing. Linda Hartman has endorsed me. She is the current supervisor. I also have Jim Pope, our former sheriff, who's endorsed me. Vaughn Cartwright, as many of you know, has endorsed me. Ken Matias, who is the superintendent of many school districts up there, has endorsed me. Kay Colby, Dave Scott, Chair Pasenko, Pat Modi. Please look at all my endorsements. These people trust me and know that I will do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give them a big round of applause.